The geopolitical landscape has once again been shaken by an explosive declaration from U.S. President Donald Trump. In a recent press conference, Trump issued a stark warning to Iran, stating there will be bombing unless Tehran agrees to negotiate a new nuclear deal. This statement marks a significant escalation in the already volatile relations between the two nations and has drawn immediate reactions from world leaders, policy analysts, and military strategists alike. The warning comes amid increasing concerns that Iran is advancing its nuclear program at an alarming rate. According to reports from the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, Iran has significantly expanded its uranium enrichment activities, surpassing the limits imposed by the now-defunct Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. With Iran potentially edging closer to nuclear weapons capability, the stakes have never been higher. Trump's remarks have also sent shockwaves through the oil markets, with prices surging on fears of an impending conflict in the Middle East. The threat of military intervention, coupled with Iran's defiant stance, has set the stage for a confrontation that could have far-reaching consequences for global stability. The roots of this crisis can be traced back to 2018, when Trump unilaterally withdrew the United States from the JCPOA, commonly referred to as the Iran nuclear deal. Signed in 2015 under the Obama administration, the JCPOA was designed to restrict Iran's nuclear program in exchange for relief from economic sanctions. However, Trump and his administration criticized the agreement as deeply flawed, arguing that it failed to address Iran's ballistic missile program and its aggressive regional activities. Following the U.S. withdrawal, Trump implemented a maximum pressure strategy, imposing crippling sanctions on Iran's economy. This approach aimed to force Tehran back to the negotiating table under more stringent terms. However, rather than comply, Iran responded by gradually violating the JCPOA's restrictions, accelerating its uranium enrichment program and curbing international inspections of its nuclear sites. Since then, the situation has continued to deteriorate, with periodic clashes between U.S. forces and Iranian-backed militias in the region. The assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in 2020 further inflamed hostilities, pushing the two nations to the brink of war. The recent warnings from Trump suggest that the U.S. may now be willing to take direct military action should Iran refuse to negotiate. Trump's warning has drawn mixed reactions from the international community. European leaders, who have long advocated for diplomacy, have urged both sides to de-escalate tensions and return to negotiations. French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz have issued joint statements emphasizing the need for a diplomatic resolution, while the European Union has called for an emergency meeting to discuss the crisis. Meanwhile, Russia and China, both key allies of Iran, have condemned Trump's threat of military action. The Russian Foreign Ministry issued a stern warning that any attack on Iran could trigger uncontrollable consequences in the Middle East. China, on the other hand, has called for the U.S. to lift sanctions on Iran and restore the JCPOA framework. Within the U.S., reactions have been polarized. Republican lawmakers have largely supported Trump's hardline stance, arguing that a firm approach is necessary to curb Iran's ambitions. Senator Tom Cotton, a strong advocate for military intervention, stated, "The world cannot afford a nuclear-armed Iran. If they refuse to negotiate, force must remain an option." However, Democratic leaders, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, have cautioned against escalating the conflict, warning that military action could lead to another prolonged war in the Middle East. The threat of military conflict has already sent shockwaves through global markets, particularly in the energy sector. Oil prices have surged amid fears that a war with Iran could disrupt shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, a vital choke point through which nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes. Energy analysts warn that prolonged hostilities could drive oil prices to record highs, exacerbating inflationary pressures worldwide. Beyond economic concerns, the strategic implications of military action against Iran are significant. A direct strike on Iran's nuclear facilities could provoke retaliation against U.S. allies, particularly Israel and Saudi Arabia. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has expressed strong support for Trump's stance, stating, "Iran must be stopped at all costs." However, analysts warn that an attack on Iran could trigger a broader regional conflict, drawing in Iranian-backed militias such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. Iran has also demonstrated significant cyber warfare capabilities, having launched cyber attacks on U.S. infrastructure in the past. In the event of a conflict, Iran could retaliate through cyber means, targeting critical infrastructure such as power grids and financial systems. The possibility of asymmetric warfare, including terrorist strikes against U.S. interests, also remains a concern. With tensions at an all-time high, the key question remains: will Iran yield to U.S. pressure and engage in negotiations, or will Trump's warning lead to military confrontation? While Iranian officials have publicly dismissed Trump's ultimatum, some analysts believe that Tehran may be open to back-channel diplomacy, particularly given the economic hardship caused by sanctions. However, Iran's hardliners, including members of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, have vowed to resist any negotiations under U.S. pressure. Supreme Leader Khamenei's recent statements suggest that Iran may opt for defiance rather than dialogue, increasing the likelihood of conflict. For Trump, the challenge lies in balancing his aggressive approach with the risk of war. A military strike against Iran could have devastating consequences, leading to potential retaliation, global instability, and a protracted military engagement. Conversely, failing to act decisively could embolden Iran and weaken U.S. credibility on the world stage. As diplomatic channels remain open but fragile, the world watches anxiously. Whether diplomacy prevails or the region plunges into another devastating conflict remains to be seen. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining the future of U.S.-Iran relations and global security. To follow the latest content, please subscribe and hit like button.